Hello and welcome to another Pulsefire Gaming video. Today is a very special presentation about the ships that are included in the Brave Sun Advent Calendar. I was approached by Tyler over at Blitz Gaming, who requested that we do a little video on these ships, and I was happy to oblige because I already backed these guys on Kickstarter before I had ever been approached by them. Because, you know, Starships. But as I got to talk to Tyler and figure out what's going on with his campaign, with Brave Sun in general, I thought that there was something a little deeper that we should talk about. And in addition to this Starship review, we'll get into that. Let's take a look. All right, I think as we get started, we should take a look at the two free ships that were available as basically a try before you buy for the Brave Sun Kickstarter. So first we have the Striker. This little ship is pretty dang awesome. We printed it in resin, and we want to make sure that the camera is in focus. So let's take the ship off the stands because I have a lot to say about the stands too. So the ships all come pre-supported. They come with this little twist and lock node in there to interface with the custom bases that come with the Kickstarter, and I gotta say I'm kind of excited about these bases. And you know, bases are bases, but I think these bases offer something that is fairly unseen, uncommon in Starship Miniatures, but we will talk about that in a bit. I do like the Striker. It printed out well, and I think the look of it kind of matches the ships that we see. Supposedly, according to the lore for Brave Sun, all of these ships are created by the same manufacturers that are funding both sides of a perpetually long war. And it's interesting to see, you know, the ships look different, but at the same time, they all kind of look the same. So that is the Striker. Next up is the Beetle. And the Beetle is a very funny looking ship. It's not... I mean, it's symmetrical in one axis, but it's very asymmetrical on another. It's a very cool little ship. I don't really have much to say beyond that. Yeah, this is the Beetle. So this is the other ship that you get for free, even if you choose not to back the Kickstarter. This Kickstarter has ended. I believe you can late pledge somewhere. We'll have the link in the description if you can. But there's another Kickstarter coming out from Brave Sun Miniatures, or from Blitz Gaming, that will continue on in this, and I think that is a reason to look at these miniatures. All right, there is the Beetle. All right, now that we are in the Kickstarter proper, let's take a look at these the ships that are in here. The first one is the Ironclad Fighter. The Ironclad Fighter, it looks kind of cool. You could see that when the ships are small enough that they can't really fit the mechanism for the twist lock bases in there, or the twist lock rods, it kind of juts out. We'll show that when we show a ship that we have adapted to use the bases later, but I just wanted to point that out. The ships themselves, or the ship itself, looks pretty good. You start to see these kind of curved, kind of flower petal-y, or more like a fish fin detailing on here, and you see that in a lot of the other ships, which we'll take a look at. Make sure that's in focus. There we go. All right, so that is the Ironclad. The next one up on this guy is the Sword. Now the Sword is a very interesting looking ship. It's very pointy, and you can see the details on there. I think one thing that will become apparent on here is I really like the ships because not only do they have sufficient detailing for basically Starship Miniatures at the scale, the biggest ship, the Salem, which we have right here, is quite a bit bigger, but it's still, the ships are detailed enough that someone 3D printing them and painting them at their original scale should be satisfied. This would fit right in with ships that you see from Full Thrust or from other Starship Miniature games that are more ship scale, between ship scale and fleet scale. Very cool little ship. This is the Sword. Now, moving that right along, we're moving to the Rainmaker. Now, I don't know why they call it the Rainmaker, but I have something, have a feeling it has something to do with the guns that are on the bottom here that you cannot see in frame. The guns down here. Maybe it makes it rain on planets. I don't know. But it's got the little turrets on the top. It's got little turrets on the bottom of the wings. It's got that same kind of flower petal-y, fish finny kind of detailing on there. Now, if you saw that, that's just how easy the bases are to get on and off. Like if I want to bust this down real quick to the basic components of the game, you have twist lock rod. Put the rod into the base and twist it, and put the ship pointing this way on the base. Set it in and twist it, and you are mounted. There's no need for glue or anything else like that. You don't need to worry about them falling over because they're all sturdy. They all have bases that are acceptable for their size. And if you want to store the ships really quickly, it's a trivial thing to just twist it off and take it off. So there we go. All right, so that was the Rainmaker, and that moves us on to the Phase. The Phase is a small ship. I believe it's one of the frigate classifications on here, and the Phase is one of these ships. It looks... I would wonder if the people that designed this were kind of like crystalline or silicon-based kind of rock people, because while the ship does look... I'm not going to say aerodynamic because they're all spaceships, but it does have like a aerodynamicness to them, but it looks not like something you would expect, I don't know, humans to produce. I think it's pretty cool. So rounding out the first 5 on here is a fighter, which we saw the Ironclad. The first ship that we showed to the main group was a fighter, as is the Thorn. The Thorn is probably my favorite or second favorite fighter out of the group, which we'll go through and we'll talk about favorites in a bit. But the Thorn is definitely my vote for the favorite. The wrong way wings kind of do it for me. I like it a lot. All right, now we have the next set of 5, and we have 5 sets of 5 to go through. Then we'll talk about other stuff on here. The FTL pod. I don't know what about this. It reminds me a lot about the Oracle from StarCraft, or kind of the Pulse pod from Stargate. And really, it looks kind of Protossy, and it's very cool. It's a little fighter that supposedly, if the name means anything, means that it's also capable of going FTL. So now we're looking at the Slingshot Cruiser. Okay, so the Slingshot you see right away that this is definitely a warship. It's got 2 sets of 3 turrets on the sides, and if you look at on the side there too, if you look at the base definitely indicates that it can fire both in the forward firing arc and also on the side arcs. And we'll get into what all this means on the bases here in a little bit, but I think the Slingshot is a pretty cool fighter in the lineup of ships on here. There are other ships that feel just like it, and I think it's a compelling starship from the Brave Sun group. Now, we'll set that aside as we continue to move along with the Ravager. The Ravager is a big chonker ship. It kind of feels like a heavy lift aircraft or like a Cheyenne dropship or something like that. It's got that feeling on there, and I really like it. I should get my hands out of the frame so you can see more of the ship, because that's why we're here. All right, and that is the Ravager. Set that aside in our ever-growing list, or ever-growing pile of ships that were no longer on screen. And we're going to move on to the next fighter, which is the Raider. The Raider is, if it wasn't for the top, I would say the Raider reminds me of lots of different sci-fi fighters, kind of like the longbow from Halo. But the top kind of sets it apart as this little finny guy. Let me see if I can get that in focus. There we go. And by the way, this shows off the versatility of the twist lock bases. The free bases that you can get you have this fighter array on here where you can have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 fighters. And I think that's really cool. And that is the Raider. Now, probably my second favorite ship of here is the Damascus Utility Cruiser, because this looks like a bug. It looks like it's built for working. It's got these little cargo modules on here, and it's a really fun looking ship. I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is definitely my second favorite ship of the whole Brave Sun miniature line. And we're not going to see my favorite ship until the end, but the Damascus is definitely my second favorite. This ship looks like it's built in a world where it needs to be working, and it's getting the job done. All right, that concludes the second 5. We got 3 more sets to go, so let's take a look. All right, now we have the Hunter. The Hunter is a cool little ship with this asymmetric, I don't know if it's a weapon or if it's a weapon or if it's like a sensor array right here, but it's asymmetric because it's only on one side. The ship, again, has that sweeping kind of, is this built for atmosphere, is it not kind of look to it. The Hunter, I think, is a good looking ship. It's, I think, just unique enough to not have to worry about displacing it in any other universe, where it sits firmly in the Brave Sun universe, but it still looks really good. Now, the next one, the Cutlass, is a funny looking ship. If the Cutlass is a sword, and these definitely look like these little, I don't know, pontoons or wings or whatever, look kind of swordy. It's a very pointy ship. You see that it's got the 4 forward-facing guns on there. It's a very cool looking ship. Again, it's just alien enough to not be misplaced in anything else, but it looks really, really good. Now, moving on, we have the Bane. The Bane looks like maybe the bigger brother to the Thorn fighter, my favorite fighter from the group. It's got this big gun on top. It has what looks to be a cockpit, but because this is a larger ship, you can't possibly be a cockpit. And it's got this big square engine in the back. The ship is a very fun looking ship. Now we have the Shield. And the Shield, what I saw in this, and I don't know why I thought this in the first place, but it's like, it's a flying brick. And it made me think of the first Valen from Babylon 5 Legend of the Rangers, because while some people might see some aesthetically pleasing things in it, it is just a big brick. And I think that fits that apt comparison really well. That is the Shield. And then the last of this group, showing off the dual fighter bar for the twist lock rods, is the Shatter. The Shatter is, you see the same design elements that you've seen in other ships. Make sure that's actually in focus. And it's a good looking fighter. It's something you can throw on and and it's not going to be anywhere out of place in this group. And it's a good looking ship. So there we go. There's the Shatter fighter. Moving on to the next set. All right, now we have the Heat Wave. The Heat Wave definitely looks like a carrier. I don't know if it is a carrier, but it definitely looks like a carrier. It's got this big flat top on top where it's got some gun emplacements. It's got a big old gun, some more turret emplacements, some turrets on the side. It's got this nice big 3 engines. And I think the profile looks pretty dang good. Let's see if we can get that on frame. There we go. Man, it's a good looking ship. But there are more ships to see, so let's talk about the Hammerhead. Their Hammerhead has these 2, what looks like, I wish I had painted these because the details on them look like you would think that they're like a railgun from the Expanse or something like that. They're big, 2 big forward-facing guns, as well as these 2 guys covering the rear of the ship on here. And it's just really awesome. If you look at the base on here, the base has 2 different arcs for firing each of the guns. So it looks like they both can fire forward, but the only one can fight on one side or the other. We see that similarly when we do full thrust light with I think it's the blue or the green FTL, or excuse me, the SSDs that have 2 pulse torpedoes that go in either arc. But I digress. Okay, so here is the recurve. Now, if I were a betting man, I would say the recurve is an anti-fighter ship because it's got all these small spiny guns on the sides. So it's definitely built for broadsides on here. In fact, if you look at the base, it's completely reflective of that because it doesn't have a forward arc weapon, but it does have 2 side arc weapons that are 2s. All right, now we have the reversal. The reversal kind of looks like a fighter. It kind of looks like a bomber. It almost looks like an AWACS little guy, where it's got this nice big engine system on the back. It's got this plate on here. I'm not exactly sure what it's for, but we're going to say AWACS. And then it's got basically the profile of a fighter, but it's not. It's a cruiser. It's like frigate sized, I think. Yeah. Okay, and the last of this group is the Aftershock. The Aftershock, kind of like the previous Hammerhead that we saw, has this big, it's the same kind of gun on top. Let's see if I can get that in frame and make sure it's in focus. But yeah, it's got one big ship that's capable of punching way above its weight class. It looks similar to the free ship, the Striker, but it's different. It's a little smaller and it's got less details, but it's a good looking ship. And that is leading us to the last 5. Here we go. All right, rounding out the final 5 is actually 6 ships. The Dusk and Shroud are 2 different ships that for some reason are listed together, but you can absolutely see with the design language in these ships that they are definitely from the same manufacturer. They're from the same purpose, same faction, and they're good looking. I think it goes along with all the other ships that we've seen, starting with the Beetle that has kind of the pedal or feather is not a comparison that I've made yet, but it's really, I think, an apt comparison for these ships where they look avian in design, except they're not chunky, or excuse me, they're chunky. They're not lithe or skinny as you would expect from other birdie things, I guess. But yeah, that is the Dusk and Shroud. We're gonna push those to this side because we're running out of space on the camera right, and we're gonna move right onto the Marauder. The Marauder is a big honking ship. From the stat card, or excuse me, from the base, you can see that it's packing a lot in its front arc. It also has some cover in the rear arc, and get that right on there on the slide lock base. It's a nice big honking ship. It definitely, I think when I read the title of the ship name, the Marauder, I think it definitely fits on there. All right, now we're almost done. We're almost done. We've got the Barrage. Now the Barrage is a big chonker ship. If you look at the base, we'll get the base out of the way real quick if we can get this off here. So we turn here and go like meow, or we could just take the whole thing out of the base. Haha! So it's similar to where it's got the 2 split forward arcs. It also has 2 split rear arcs on there, and it's a cruiser level ship, and it's a big chonker. It has 8 hit points. It's got 1 armor, the little silhouette on the ship here, but we'll cover that here in a second. That was the Barrage. Now, I told you my favorite ship was yet to be seen, and here it is. I'll tell you why. The Fury looks... It struck me, and you might think this is a little weird, but I think it matches. The Fury definitely made it seem like kind of like the Serenity from Firefly. I don't know what it is about it. It's probably something to do with these 2 pods on the side, but I think the Fury is my favorite ship on here. It's alien, but not at the same time. It looks really good, and I think this is my favorite ship out of the bunch. But we can't let this video go without talking about the Salem Dreadnought. The Salem is the biggest ship in this Kickstarter, but I've been told that it's not the only dreadnought to expect. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about this. This is, I think, this ship is the reason why I backed the Kickstarter in the first place, because it looks chonky. It kind of vaguely looks like the bad ship from Galaxy Quest, or it kind of looks like a one of the Brute's weapons from Halo as well. It looks like a big, mean ship. It's definitely, if you look at the base, it is side arc focused, where it doesn't have in the front and rear, but it definitely has something in the on both of the sides. And it's a big chonking ship. So we're going to put it on here. Now, we had all of the ships use the same pegs except for the dreadnoughts. The dreadnoughts have a much thicker peg, because if you don't hollow these ships, if you just print them with the pre-supported files, they are big chonkers. But I chose not to, because I didn't change the original scale. I printed these all in the original scale, so they would all mesh together with their bases. And I think the Salem is a good looking ship. So that concludes the overview of the ships. And if you are still watching, you should definitely take a look and see if a late pledge is available for these ships. Maybe there'll be an add-on to the next Brave Sun Kickstarter. So take a look. Now let's get into the bases here. Well, if you've watched this far, thank you very much for watching. We will cover the bases and the other stuff for Brave Sun in another video. Oh, I did want to show one thing before we end real quick. This is a generic. I can get it out. Come on. This is one of the generic Brave Sun bases. This is a Brave Sun rod. And this is a 3D printed Halo Fleet Battle scale CCS class Covenant cruiser. Now, we're going to mount this to these bases because included in the Kickstarter are adapters that allow you to put these other ships onto the twist and lock rod bases. I think that's pretty ingenious on here, and we're going to showcase that now by getting this on here like I've actually got a brain cell, twisting it, and there you go. It's locked in place. If you're interested in the bases, I think there's a base set available for free on Mining Manufactory, and that'll be another link that we have in the bottom in the description. Thank you very much for watching. If you like the video, like it. Comment on the video if you have something to say. And as always, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more content from us. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.